Welcome to today's explainer. Weddings are supposed to be all about romance, flowers, just celebrating love, right? But pull back the curtain on basically any modern wedding, and you're going to slam right into the very unromantic reality of money. Today, we're unpacking this fascinating modern controversy that's sitting squarely at the intersection of celebration and finance. We're looking at how a single celebrity wedding is making major headlines, and it's not for the dress, and it's definitely not for the venue, but for a highly debated request being made of the guests.
Okay, let's dive into this. Honestly, would you pay to attend a wedding? According to recent reports, guests who are invited to actress AnnaLynne McCord's upcoming wedding are being asked to do exactly that. They're being asked to contribute financially toward the celebration itself instead of giving your traditional wedding gifts. And wow, this single idea has just ignited an absolute explosion of debate online. I mean, it literally takes our standard expectations of being a wedding guest and turns them completely upside down. So today we're going to break down exactly why this is causing such a massive reaction and what it actually tells us about our changing cultural norms. Moving on to Section 1. Who is AnnaLynne McCord? Fame and advocacy.
Now, to really understand the intense scrutiny here, we got to know who's at the center of this debate. AnnaLynne McCord first rose to fame as one of the most recognizable actresses of the late 2000s, starring in massive hit TV dramas. You probably remember her from 90210. But she hasn't just stayed in the acting lane. She's also widely known for her extensive humanitarian work, and she's a very public advocate for mental health and social issues. But right now, it is her upcoming wedding, rather than her successful career or advocacy, that really has everyone talking. The fact that she is a highly visible, incredibly financially successful public figure, that's a crucial piece of context that is absolutely pouring gasoline on this online fire.
Next up is Section 2, the core conflict, practicality versus etiquette. And this brilliantly illustrates the two fiercely divided camps online right now. On one side, you have this practical and modern argument. Supporters are quick to point out that, hey, modern weddings are insanely expensive, and couples should be entirely free to celebrate however works best for them financially, without being boxed in by outdated traditions. But then on the other side, critics are calling this completely inappropriate. They're arguing it crosses a fundamental boundary of etiquette. Their perspective is basically that guests are invitees, not sponsors. And this feels particularly jarring to a lot of people when the couple, like in this celebrity case, is already perceived to be financially successful. So opinions are sharply divided here, and both sides are really digging their heels in. Which brings us to Section 3, a changing trend, the evolution of giving.
So zooming out actually gives us some really necessary perspective here, because this idea didn't just appear out of thin air. Asking guests to contribute financially isn't entirely new. If we look at decades past, we had traditional physical gift registries, the classic blenders and fine china. Then, in recent years, we saw a massive shift toward honeymoon funds, cash registries, or even asking for charitable donations in lieu of gifts. And supporters argue that these alternatives were already reflecting our changing attitudes about weddings. But the big leap to today, direct event financing, well, that's what's causing all the friction. We have literally moved from buying a physical gift to funding a vacation to actively paying for the party we're attending. And that brings us to the crucial point. The exact reason this is causing such a massive uproar comes down to a deeply felt difference in public consciousness. There is a huge gap between asking for cash instead of physical gifts and explicitly asking guests to help finance the wedding event itself. Critics argue that right there is where the line is drawn. One is seen as a modern convenience for a couple just starting their lives. The other completely shifts the burden of hosting away from the hosts. This very specific distinction is the precise boundary line at the center of the current etiquette discussion. It's exactly why this story leaped from just a standard celebrity gossip piece into this much broader, kind of fascinating debate about modern manners and expectations. All right, let's hit Section 4, the bigger picture, changing social expectations. Celebrity weddings always attract a ton of public attention, but their real value is how they hold a mirror right up to our own changing social expectations. It forces us to ask a really fascinating question. Should weddings be community-focused, or are they entirely the couple's responsibility? Posing this validates both of the models we've been discussing. On one hand, you have the historical community support model, where basically a village comes together to pitch in for a celebration. But on the other hand, you have the modern, traditional financial independence model, where the couple, as the hosts, takes full responsibility for the costs of their own party. There honestly might not be a single right answer here, but this high-profile story has absolutely reignited the debate over what we actually owe each other when we gather to celebrate. Which brings us right back to you, the guest. Whether you see this as a highly practical modern approach to completely out-of-control wedding costs, or you think it's an incredibly unusual and inappropriate request, one thing is absolutely certain for sure. AnnaLynne McCord's wedding plans have become one of the most talked about stories of the week, so I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to ponder based on everything we've looked at today. If that invitation arrived in your mailbox tomorrow, would you contribute to a friend's wedding if they asked? It's a deep question of friendship, finances, and the future of social etiquette. Let us know where you stand on this down in the comments. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the world around you.